What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome back to The Nerdy Narrative. Today, I am excited to talk to you about a recent read. I literally finished it last night, got up first thing this morning to film this review. It's a literary thriller. It's called The Violin Conspiracy by Brendan Slocumb. You may have heard of this title recently because not only was it nominated for the 2022 Goodreads Choice Awards for Best Mystery and Thriller, it was also nominated for Best Debut. I cannot believe this was a debut novel. It feels like Brendan Slocumb has been writing for forever. I was excited to see they have a new book with an expected publication date of April 2023. I've already put it on my want to read list. It's called Symphony of Secrets, which sounds like it might be yet another literary thriller, so I am very excited. How it is I came to read The Violin Conspiracy by Brendan Slocumb is through the book club, the Wine and Crime Book Club, which is something I host on my Discord, and we have a live show at the end of every month. Let's talk about first, what is a literary thriller? I always feel that literary works have two layers. We've got that main engaging story for readers, and then we've got that underlying issue that the author is drawing our attention to. Let me read you these couple of lines from the author's note that's going to tell you what the underlying theme is. Alone, we are a solitary violin, a lonely flute, a trumpet singing in the dark. Together, we are a symphony. To dig into what that means a little bit more is musicians of color are severely underrepresented in the classical music scene. The author, Brendan Slocumb, holds a degree in music education and has been teaching publicly and privately for over 20 years, and of course the violin is one of those. Now, if you're an audiobook lover, I want to highly recommend the audiobook to you because the book is written in different parts, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, and at each one of those parts, there is just a lovely violin solo to show the separation of the chapters that is just absolutely beautiful. The audiobook narrator, J.D. Jackson, did an absolutely amazing job with this one, so if you love audiobooks, this would be the way to go for this one. Although, here's what happened to me. I got the audiobook from my library. I started listening. I became addicted. I read the first half of this book the first day that I started it. I finished the other half the next day. I couldn't put it down. I started with the audiobook. I was like, this will be my audiobook while I'm doing stuff, and then I'm going to have another book I'm going to read physically. That is not what happened. When I couldn't listen to the audiobook, I went back to Libby and I was like, let me see if my library's got that ebook on hand so I can get it on my Kindle. I have to own this book. I know a lot of people feel that thrillers don't have rereadability once you finish and you know what the ending is. But when you have a literary thriller, that means there's a lesson, there's a theme, there's something beautiful to the story that the author wants to convey to us, and those I find very much rereadable. The book begins in present day. A young man named Ray McMillan is on his way to practicing very studiously for the Tchaikovsky competition. This is an international competition that began in 1958, which is the only year an American won. A young man named Van Cliburn from Texas won in the piano division. Ray wants to be the first to win in violin. There's a lot of work to be done. The author does get into that a little bit. Not so much so that if you're someone who's not musically inclined or you've never been trained, you weren't in band in high school. I was none of those. I did try to teach myself guitar. It went very terribly. I also tried to teach myself piano. Went equally terribly. And I understood exactly what the author was telling me for the most part. There were a few pieces listed of music that I was not familiar with until I Googled them, and then I realized I have heard these pieces. The way Brendan Slocumb wrote when Ray was playing these different pieces, like Ray's mentor told him in the novel, this is what the composer said it was about. But make it mean something to you. When you're playing it, play what it means to you. And Ray would be thinking about and describing in his mind what he saw, what he felt when he played this music, and just how it would transform it. It was absolutely stunning to read those parts. So I've told you Ray is a violinist. That is where the thriller part of the story comes into play. Ray has grown up hearing stories from his beloved grandma Nora about her pop who played the fiddle, and she is determined that is where Ray got it from. She finds Pop's fiddle one year and gives it to Ray for Christmas. It's in very poor condition. The first order of business is Ray takes it to have it cleaned up and repaired a little bit because all he wants to do is play Pop Pop's fiddle for his grandma Nora. It comes to light that this is a Stradivarius violin. With this revelation, Ray's mentor encourages him to get it, what's the word that insurance people, appraised. Get it appraised and see what it's worth. Come to find out, this violin is worth $10 million. You can probably guess what happens next. Comes up missing. Not only does it come up missing, someone switched his fiddle for a white Chuck Taylor Converse sneaker with a ransom note saying to wire Bitcoin in the amount of $5 million by this date to get his fiddle back. But he's got the Tchaikovsky competition that he's practicing for. So you can imagine what this does to him mentally. This poor young man, all he wants to do is play music. He wants to share this music with the world. And you're thinking, what else could there be that this poor man is suffering? Racism. The author showed how some of the racism was absolutely intentional, and there was also unintentional racism. When Ray goes to Moscow to compete in the Tchaikovsky competition, he's hiring other musicians to help him learn ways that might make his performance better. They're all European, and the way that they talk to him, "you're kind." He's not sure, like, are you meaning American? Are you meaning Black American? He says, yes, I am an American. I am Black, but music has no color. And it's just beautiful how Ray deals with the racism and how he just remembers what his grandma Nora told him. And I'm going to read this quote for you. It's just beautiful. I have chill bumps. I'm going to try not to cry. I'm already choking up. But this is something Ray's grandmother told him. He never forgot it. There were times he was discouraged. There were times that people did get to him. They did hurt him. And he would react out of that. But he would always, as soon as he calmed down, he would remember what his grandma Nora told him. And he would always put it to use. And he was just, stand tall, Grandma had told him. He would stand tall with the spotlight shining on his face, and his music would pour into all their ears. And they would understand that no matter what anybody threw at him, he was not going away. He was not stooping to their level. The air conditioning could go off and he could melt. They could toss any piece of crappy music they wanted at him and he would play. He would not be ignored or denied or embarrassed ever again. He was a musician, and music had no color. So from this quote, you can infer some of the things that Ray encountered trying to make his way onto the classical music scene as a Black man. I loved how the author showed when Ray was remembering what his grandmother had told him, because he would stand up, he would put his shoulders back, and he would stand tall, and he was just such an inspiration. This character is amazing. What he goes through, how he gets through it, how he comes out on the other side, how he inspired others. It is a wonderful, wonderful book, but don't take my word for it. Read it for yourself. Experience this wonderful piece of work by Brendan Slocumb. I will absolutely be reading his next novel coming out next year, so you're going to be hearing more about Brendan Slocumb on this channel. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like button. If you want to hear more reviews like this, hit that subscribe button. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it, but most importantly, I hope you are interested in picking this one up for yourselves. I don't know if this review will go up before or after the Wine and Crime Book Club live show, but if you have read this book, we will be having a live show on December 31st here on the channel at 1 p.m. Would love to have you. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one.